everyone. பெற்றோரை நினைவில் சுமந்து, கணவனை இதயத்தில் சுமந்து, குழந்தையை கருவில் சுமந்து, குடும்ப பாரத்தை தலையில் சுமந்து, இவை அனைத்தும் சுகமான சுமையே என்று சிரித்துக் கொண்டே சொல்பவள்தான் பெண். Happy Advanced Women's Day to all women present. Every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. I feel very happy to introduce such an inspiring guest, Dr. T. Jayasudha, Associate Professor of English from Bharati Women's College, Chennai. She has done specialization in action research in applied linguistics of classroom management. 40 plus training programs so far were conducted by Dr. D. Jayasudha. She is a coordinator for collaborative project between Department of Higher Education, Government of Tamil Nadu, and US Department of State, Washington, DC, for English Language Fellow Program. She has organized and conducted training for government college teachers in Tamil Nadu, where 297 teachers have been trained through 12 workshops. She has also imparted English language skills to socio-economically disadvantaged women students of North Chennai. Dr. Jayasudha's other achievements are she has represented Tamil Nadu Higher Education Department in the Global Week and made presentation as visiting professor in King's College, London. As member of designing committee for communicative English, Dr. Jayasudha designed a CERT syllabus for 11th and 12th standard students. She has published papers in 5 national journals, 2 international journals, and also she has published 6 books and 6 anthologies. Dr. Jayasudha has facilitated and been part of content development for NSDC. Presently, as a Chief Operating Officer, NIMI, she is leading a World Bank funded skill project called Sankalp, that is skill training and knowledge acquisition for livelihood promotion. With these words, I invite you, Madam, to deliver the keynote address.
Yeah. Good morning. I would like to thank, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. We can hear you.
Yeah. I would like to thank KCG for having me again for another Women's Day occasion. Still my first visit to your college is still fresh in my mind when it was not just the Women's Day, but also the freshers meet was also there. So at this juncture, I would like to congratulate every participant in this online Women's Day celebration mode, be it a man or a woman equally, because we do have women in our families, even if we are men. So a very warm International Women's Day wishes to all of you. Having said that, I would also like to add here that Women's Day is not just one particular day that you kind of designate and isolate where you celebrate women. Rather, it has to be a part and parcel of our everyday life where we recognize, identify, and also embrace the women that we come across at the personal, social, and professional levels. So that should be the first thing. While I say that we will have to acknowledge women and respect them, it also means that women also have to respect other women whom they come across in life, because like the old Tamil adage goes, the woman is the first enemy of every other woman. So whatever one has experienced and one has come through in life normally is seen as what one imparts on others, irrespective of whether it is a pleasant or whether it is an unpleasant one. I would like to cite an example here. Since my earlier tenure was in a government arts and science college where there were women, I joined as number 28. So I had 27 seniors, and I had joined that college when I had a 6-month-old kid. So the first thing that my head of the department used to tell me was, my age, my experience is your age. I think this is the first thing that comes when you actually work only amongst women. And it was something that I was not able to welcome because I came from a corporate world. And I have been a person who has carved a niche for herself since childhood. And most of what I am today is because of people who resisted, and also because of people who supported. So it is both. And both the resistance and the support, unfortunately, whether it be from the family end or from the school or the college end or from the professional end, has been only by women. So I have never had, it was very unlikely that men were a part of the opposition that one comes through. Right. So that is one thing that I want to kind of share with the other women who are present here. I know it is completely different in a scenario where you work in a private institution like KCG, because I have seen how it is. Right. So the way it is in a government setup, it is not like in the army. So it is completely different. And I should also say that it has been completely different in my current position as Chief Operating Officer. Today, I'm completing 1 year of COO implementing a World Bank project. We started it off on March 8th last year in IIM Bangalore. The ministry rolled it out. I just missed what I was saying. Right. So I should say it has not been that easy even with me, because National Instructional Media Institute is like your SCERT or your NCERT for the vocational system, where we have the opportunity to design curriculum, content, training, pedagogy, all of that for the ITI skill ecosystem and also the short-term skilling. So that way, I should say I am the only woman now because of people who resisted, and also because of people who supported. So it is both. And both the resistance and the support, unfortunately, whether it be from the family end or from the school or the college end or from the professional end, has been only by women. So I have never had, it was very unlikely that men were a part of the opposition that one comes through. Right. So that is one thing that I want to kind of share with the other women who are present here. I know it is completely different in a scenario where you work in a private institution like KCG, because I have seen how it is. Right. So the way it is in a government setup, it is not like in the army. So it is completely different. And I should also say that it has been completely different in my current position as Chief Operating Officer. Today, I'm completing 1 year of COO implementing a World Bank project. We started it off on March 8th last year in IIM Bangalore. The ministry rolled it out. I just missed what I was saying. Right. So I should say it has not been that easy even with me, because National Instructional Media Institute is like your SCERT or your NCERT for the vocational system, where we have the opportunity to design curriculum, content, training, pedagogy, all of that for the ITI skill ecosystem and also the short-term skilling. So that way, I should say I am the only woman who was available across the country. I don't say it with pride. I say it with a lot of humility, because I never knew that my specialization was something very unique that nobody else, even within the skill ecosystem, had. One who does it from the needs to assessment, working with the European qualifications framework, working with a common European framework of reference, working with the national skills qualification framework. So it was a full circle. But then I also realized why all of these resistance was in all that I faced from my professional front, because I was doing something which people never knew that it existed, or people who could never understand what it was. Because what I was researching at that point in time from 96 to 2007 was what the Cambridge University was also parallelly doing with your BEC, your IELTS, and all of these examinations. Today, I can understand when I look back at my past and how all of my colleagues did not understand a word of what I was speaking. But that point in time, I could look at it only as resistance. So I would like to talk about three things here. One is goal setting. See, if you have to succeed in life and you have a very unique idea that you think that you can work on, you should carve a niche for yourself. I think that takes at least 5 to 6 years for you to test and find where your choice is correct. But when you have a plan A, also have a plan B and plan C. Because not everyone gets to work in their own dream kind of jobs, in their own dream kind of circumstances that you want. So while you're working towards your plan A, that is your dream, also have an alternate choice, one or two choices, because India is a very big population, and you have so many engineers and so many graduates coming out today with liberalization of education. And you cannot guarantee that everyone will be able to work in their own domain-specific areas unless you enter into the teaching fold. But even there, for example, in most of the engineering colleges, the English faculty are reduced to placement officers and given all kinds of odd jobs, which actually is not different even in a polytechnic scenario, because we have people employed for training the ITI graduates for employability training, but most of the administrative work is done by them to assist the principals in those institutions. So you might be occupying a certain position, but you might not be 100% doing all sorts of work that goes with that particular designation or position that you hold. I think that is the first thing that anyone who is passing out of an institution should bear in mind. Second thing is you should have short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. What do you intend to do in the next 6 months or next 1 year or next 2 years? And where do you position yourself in the next 5 years? And how do you see you would have reached all your goals 10 years from now? So if you have all of these kinds of goal settings done, only then will you be able to plan accordingly all the steps that you have to take. See, having goals is one thing, and working towards it and creating a working template is another. So that is one I thought I should say. And while you're doing this, also be aware of your responsibilities. And these responsibilities also are threefold. The first is your personal responsibility. See, with the COVID situation, most of the people in the organized and very many in the unorganized sector lost their jobs. But do not give up. Try to find a means of getting something that is at least helping you to make the ends meet. I know it's a very tough statement that I'm making, but still life does not become still, or life does not end because of a COVID situation. That we have to kind of bear in mind. Secondly, you have a responsibility towards others. When I'm talking about others, it includes family, it includes friends, and also it includes the different gender. Since it is the Women's Day, I thought I will have a little more focus on speaking about womenfold. The first thing that we will have to understand is sex is biologically determined, where gender is a culturally acquired kind of a status. So the way your mind is conditioned, I appreciate the way Mrs. Aruna, Brigadier Aruna was talking about creating mindsets. See, we as a culture have been ordained with a kind of mindset that women are meant for domestication. and men are meant for all of those outgoing and other roles. I would also like to kind of cite the same example that the principal cited of the hen and the eagle. Men are supposed to be like the eagle, flying far high and doing all that they intend to, and women are supposed to be domesticated. So even that example actually unintentionally that Dr. Devasundari had chosen also kind of foregrounds the kind of images that we have of women and men. So that mental conditioning has to change. And I think it should start from the mother. I think it's most often it is the mother or the woman in the family who actually gives more encouragement for this kind of ideology of how girls should grow up and how boys have to grow up actually gets conditioned into the family. I think that has to change. Fortunately, I had only a daughter, so that did not happen with us. And because I am somebody who actually has broken most of traditional norms that were set by a conventional family that I come from. I have two brothers, an elder and a younger one. And it so happened that my elder brother had to go into an arts and science scenario, and I was refused an entry into an engineering college. But then I chose English because I had a passion for reading, I had a passion for writing, and I chose it also at that point in time because I wanted to do some kind of graduation and ultimately not take up any of the government jobs which people normally push a girl to take a teaching job or write a bank exam and things like that. I wanted to choose a course which will not give me any job. But unfortunately, fate had something else for me. Right? So that was one. And second thing was I was trying to fight not to become a faculty at all. That was something I hated because when you have a girl in the family and you give her education, the easiest choice is send her to a bank job, send her to a government clerical position, or send her to become a school or a college teacher. So I was kind of completely against all of these stereotypical roles which condition the kind of way a woman is brought up in the family. So I don't think all of us are made of stuff like this. Nevertheless, the responsibility towards others in your family, please don't distinguish the kind of respect you give to your mother and your father. And also the kind of importance that is given to your sister in the family if you are a boy and your brother in the family if you are a girl. Try to see that there is an equality that is there. At least if you're not able to change that scenario, if you're a student currently, see that that does not run into your family when you settle down with somebody after your marriage. Because the only difference between a man and a woman is only biological. And if you go by all of the hardships that a woman goes through, you can find that the woman is stronger than the male because under so many circumstances in the North Madras scenario where I initially worked, I could see that most of the children came from broken families and 99% of the families were actually maintained only by the mothers. The fathers had ditched the families or died because of liquor drinking and various other reasons for which North Madras is known for. But then it was the mother, even with her meager ages, kept the family together by bringing up the children and especially girl children and giving them education. So we would always tell our girl students in Bharati that rightly Mrs. Aruna also said, marriage is not a be-all and an end-all. That is just a phase in life, right? So don't think that once you have completed your graduation because you are a girl and if you get some decent job, that you will have to get married to. It is not necessary, right? If you decide not to marry, it is your choice. So even that choice, I feel, a woman has to be given. And at no point in time, the father or the brothers in the family should kind of force a girl child into marriage just because she is of a different gender and has to be protected always. And the third is your responsibility towards the society. And this is where the way you behave in public in your school, in a public place, and in your workplace with women, that is more important. And at this point, I would also kind of cite an example where one of, I don't want to even mention the particular scene completely, but I would like to cite an example, a very empowered girl, a very competitive girl, who actually faced some problem, some sexual kind of advances and problem, which was completely kind of going on for a long period in time, had the guts to report to us, right? But when she was recommended to go to an internal complaints registering committee of POSH, she said she will not do it. She wanted it, we gave her the choice, but then she said, no, I will not do it. See, sometimes there are laws available and there are avenues where if you open up, it will be not only a solution for your own self, but various others who are similar to you, who are also exploited, who cannot express it outwardly, will get some kind of a confidence based on yours. But finally, she said, I will not raise a complaint. And we could empathize with her at one point because she said, I will have to live through that mental experience again and again if I have to recount with the committee on all of your inquiry sessions. So that we were able to understand. But then I would also kind of register here that most often it is also women who don't want to come into the open and register what experience we have had. And all of us know the kind of the case that is running currently live with a senior police officer trying to exploit a colleague of his, which is running, which a government did not dare to bring it to the limelight for 2 days. They were trying to suppress it. So that is the kind of governance, that is the kind of society we are living in. So I would ultimately feel that the responsibility that each individual owes to the others is more with ourselves uniting as a kind of a society rather than as a male or a female entity. And also the issue at hand should be more important than everything else. The way we have to objectively look at the problem at hand. So if all male members, whatever highest office or whatever lowest office one holds, is taught to respect where his or her freedom starts and where it ends. I think that should be the point where all of this can stay up. The reason for this is in our culture, a woman is kind of looked at as only a body. You are not looked at as an entity with feelings and emotions, and they feel the ultimate kind of an insult that can happen to a woman is only on her body or body shaming or kind of insinuating her with all false charges, which you can easily cast upon a woman. So this kind of a mindset actually has to go off. And the third is towards the society, the way you actually behave and carry yourself with a lot of these personal values. See, values can be taught to a certain level, but they have to be imbibed and become a part and parcel of yourself. Unless you determine and decide that you will respect somebody the way you want yourself to be respected by others. It starts from you. So it can never kind of happen. It does not come from outside. It starts from kind of within. And the third is, I would like to say that as a concluding statement for all of these, whether you rise in life, whether you kind of behave responsible in the society, it all starts with your personal discipline and how you implement it in the social space. So I thank you for the opportunity, and I would love to respond to questions if you have.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants, if there are any questions, you can put it in the chat.
Right now, I don't see any questions, Jesuda, but I thought you're wonderful the way you spoke, and especially, the way the body of is considered, that the way to attack a woman is to attack the body. And we also, we find it difficult to talk about it when we, attacked in that way. That is true, because we still think it's shameful for us, when it happens to us, we think we are responsible in some way. So let's hope that all these areas, I just want to share that I remember a women's conference like this, when one of the speakers came up, and she actually she was very nervous when she was going to speak, and wondering, oh, how come the speaker is so nervous. And then when she started speaking, she recounted an experience when she was raped, and it was in a public forum. And I remember after that, women were saying, was there any need for her to talk about this? Is this the forum to talk about that? But I think when something happens to us, we need to speak up, because that will give courage to other women also to speak up. So thank you, Jesuda, for touching on all these so important topics, that areas when you spoke. If I don't think anybody has a question to ask as such, because I think this is a reality which we are all dealing with in some way or the other. But
yeah, no, I think the first time I was pulled down was because I was a girl. I don't know why for the last 3 days I was reminiscent of so many things that happened since childhood. And it was so surprising that my first time on stage was when I was in class 5. And I still remember the topic I spoke about. I don't know whether I knew so much at class 5. It was, unless we educate the rural people, India will not prosper, which is still relevant today.
Yeah, very true.
Right? It was an extempore. And it was over, and I was awarded the first prize. I don't know what I did, but I still remember how I stood on the stage with my uniform. I remember that entire scene. But it so happened it is a co-ed institution. I studied in Bangalore. It was a Good Shepherd's convent. There was a lot of hue and cry by one of my teachers who didn't like me. For the simple reason was I was not a child who actually would just listen to what happens in a class, but based on that, I would raise a lot of questions. So that was my way of learning. So she thought I was kind of arrogant at that point in the early 80s, when people thought that she was actually being very impolite in the class. And she raised it up in the department, in the staff room, saying, how could, and there were kind of very less participants, maybe less than 10 in number from the whole school. So she said, when there are students here till 11th standard, the PUC was there then, how could you award the first prize to a girl from the 5th class? So that was a dispute, and they had to conduct that competition again. At that point, I was on leave because one of my cousins' wedding happened. So they brought me here to Chennai. And that was my first visit to Chennai. But the pleasant surprise when I went back was there was one teacher who actually fought the case for me with the whole department and the principal, Mr. Gundu Rao, saying that, see, you conducted an extempore, and there was a student who fared really well, and all of them who judged the competition were from outside, and she won a prize. And how can you reconduct it, and the girl is not there? So whomsoever wins now shares it with her. Yeah. So it was a pleasant surprise on the school day when actually they took me on stage and gave me that prize. So even to this day, when I am on stage, I still remember Mrs. Cynthia Pinto. I don't know where she is.
I must say they must be applauded, that they chose a young girl.
It recognizes. And I think it was still earlier when I was hardly 2.5. I did my preparatory in a school in Karaikudi called Kamban Preparatory School. Then Sa Ganesan was running it. There was some Sanskrit recitation that happened, and it seems I did it well. I knew that I was the one who did it flawlessly. But the prize was given to somebody who was a teacher's son. So even now I have my own cousins who tell me I ran up to the stage when the prize was given, and I said, he made this mistake, but I did it flawless. Why are you giving the prize to him? And then the judge was actually taken aback, and he said, how come a child of such a young age, hardly 2.5, she's able to come and ask it on the stage? And I was given that, and still that is there in my aunt's house.
I'm very impressed. I still...
Times also when I was not allowed to have my free space after I came out of Bangalore. So it was kind of literally fighting that back again, but then it has been inherent, right? That spirit of Socratic questioning is something that has been inherent. Now, when I read all of these Western philosophies, I think that that is the actual correct mode of learning. So, but people don't like you raising questions.
People
right?
still don't like, let alone children, they don't like adult, I think adult women also asking questions.
Yeah, so I trained myself to learn this art of being deceptively quiet. So I would never open my mouth even in a department meeting unless the question is directly pointed at me. I know, see, ultimately when you're going to make some noise and people are going to look at it as creating a ripple but not change. So what is the hell, the use of even making your voice heard? So I would never speak up. So I think that is how people could not predict what was running in my mind, because the face will never reflect what is going on at the back. So I think that is also one mode that one has to take up. Certain times it is not useful to speak also. So you should also know when to speak and when not to speak. And if you actually take only the right path, people can never predict you. Because it's always easier to send an RTI or file a case. But it's very tough to fight it the legal way without going and taking up a case. That is how I fought with my Tani experiment. It was a 64 lakhs project that I had with Tamil Nadu Innovative Initiatives. And my own colleagues were pulling me down. Right? So they didn't want me to implement, but I knew I will do it. But I didn't know how, and I didn't want to fight a case for it. And it was my IPR, it was my intellectual property of rights, which actually was parallelly running with the Cambridge, all of their assessments. Because I had somebody from Cambridge come and assess and tell me that I was parallel to them, right? And I was not copying them. So I think sometimes being deceptively quiet and speaking only when called for or taking turns is also most important to actually succeed in whatever you're doing. And it does not come easily.
True. Neither keeping quiet nor speaking up, neither comes easily. Okay, so I think...
See, for almost 1.5 years after coming here, being the top in the whole nation, I was not included. So I was like a parallel person who was just drawing the salary. So they underestimated me. They thought we are giving her the salary, so she will come here, sit, while away her time like a government employee and go after 2 years. But then I wrote to the ministry and said, if you don't want me, I can't sit here idle. So send me back. So that is where it came, where I was working with the NCVET, the new regulator for the skill. I was working on the complete synergy system with the short-term and long-term verticals of the skilling. So that was a unique experience. And it took that 1.5 years to study the complete work that they were doing and find gaps and fill in those gaps. And I was able to redefine the employability skill, where we have POSH as one of those components now, which an ITI child is trained of even before he goes out. And we know the kind of children we get in the ITIs. They are actually people who score very less in their 10th standard, who do not want any kind of knowledge education. They only want to work with your fingers. Yes, ma'am.
Thank
think
you, ma'am.
We're running out of time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Through your courage, we are able to learn a lot, especially the girls, the students who will graduate, would be graduate in a couple of years. You shared your struggles, what you went through during the initial days of your work life. So this will be an inspiration and motivation to all the girls. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing us your plans and goals, and how to self-discipline ourselves. And thank you very much for your presence.
Thank you so much.